G'day guys, once again long time between videos. I am still enjoying the transition to Brisbane, and in particular I'm really getting into some of the fishing in the rivers over here, and it's taking up a lot of the time that I otherwise would have had to maybe try and keep tropical fruits alive in Canberra, which was a very arduous process. But today I wanted to show a couple of the perhaps more marginal fruits for Brisbane, because even though Brisbane is subtropical, there are still plants, tropical plants, that don't particularly do well in even a nice warm Brisbane climate. And number one, and the hardest one in my collection, right along the fence line, a little bit in a kind of an alleyway in the house with a bit of shade, really to protect it, is this one right here. And this one here, and a lot of the plants we're going to see today are in the Artocarpus family, which is the jackfruits, and which are also related a little bit more distantly to the figs and even mulberries. This is the Chempedak. Now the Chempedak is very similar to a jackfruit in many ways. It grows similarly, but it's meant to have a much stronger smell, and many people say that it's one of the best of the Artocarpus. So I've put this one down here because it is meant to be an ultra tropical. It's only gone in the ground in the last 3 to 4 weeks, just because even here we were having overnight temperatures in the 6 to 7 degree range, and it's meant to be a little bit difficult to get these guys going. So hopefully this will gain some strength and size over the next 12 months, and we'll be fine here in this somewhat protected space that we have here. It should be protected from winds and other things like that. Now this is meant to grow to quite a large tree. I am a little bit worried about the size and the spacing here. I've planted it in the middle of this garden bed, which is approximately 3 foot, or my feet apart, 2, 3. I will keep an eye on it. If it does get too big, we're going to have to size control this, either by keeping it short and stout so that it doesn't get too high into the sky, although there's nothing blocking us here except the fence. And if that trunk diameter over the years does start to get too big, it might actually have to one day be chopped down. I don't want to be impeding on this fence line here or into the neighbour's property or anything like that. But it will get minimum a few years out of this, probably much longer. And in that time, if it does become a problem, we'll deal with it at that point. And that's similar to the next plant that's along here, which is also marginal, and this is actually a hybrid between that Chempedak and a jackfruit. This is called a Marang, and I might actually be lying, this isn't the hybrid at all. It's just very similar. It's in the same family. It says it resembles the jackfruit and a breadfruit. The meringue is similar again. The fruits look very similar, and the hybrid that I'm talking about we're actually going to see in a little bit. That's called a Cheena. But this meringue is another one in that jackfruit family, and again for the same reasons I've planted it here. It's a little bit marginal. It might require cross-pollination. I'm not sure if you can cross-pollinate with the Chempedak over there. We'll soon find out. But this one's actually started to wake up quite a little bit quicker than the Chempedak. It's been in the ground for the same time, but it started to bud out. So let's see how that goes over time. A bunch of citrus that I put in. We'll see how they keep going as the year progresses. They're putting on some size. We have an avocado that I put in over here that's starting to wake up over the very brief cool period that we have. It's got some nice kind of new growth coming on, and as well we've got we have a one that will come to me just as I'm walking away, waking up over there. That one is in the sugar fruit family. I'm not sure why, I can't remember what that's called. I've thought about it 1,000 times in the last week. We have another one here. This is in the green sapote family. It's meant to be a little bit easier to grow, the mame sapote. I put this one in a bit of a shaded variety. We have coffee down here, more tropical plants. But one of the ones that I wanted to look at today, one of the more marginal plants on the other end of the spectrum, with our North American Paw Paws. And this is what really prompted this video today, because I got a message on Facebook from Neil back in Canberra who said his was flowering, and I thought I'd come out and check my own. And surprisingly, I do have flowers on this paw paw. A couple of them have already kind of gone to dust at this point. There's a few that have gone to dust. And this is marginal in the opposite direction because these do require some sort of chill hours, and I was reluctant to even bring them along to Brisbane with me for that reason. And I'm walking into spider webs over here, we'll get rid of those. But I was reluctant to bring them to Brisbane because I wasn't sure if they would ever flower or fruit here, and there's nothing to say that they will actually end up being able to fruit here in Brizzy. But I thought I'd put them in a back corner, which is why I don't really check on them and haven't checked on them since I put them in. And I was very surprised to come out here and see one of these flowers on this plant. And the flowers, if we're going to flower, there's a possibility that we're going to get fruit. Now, because the other ones have shriveled up, I would be very surprised to see fruit this year. And I put this one in the ground at the same time as I put this stick here in the ground, which hasn't leafed out again at all. They really don't like to be transplanted, these American Paw Paws, and that's the Asimina Triloba. What you can see on here, it's a little bit different to the paw paws and the papayas you see in the shops. This is in a different family. This is in the same family as soursops and sugar apples, and the one over there, the cherimoya, that's the name that I forgot, the cherimoya, which is planted in that back corner. This is one of those, and so it'll be very interesting to see. And what's actually unusual about this particular plant compared to most in its family is most of them are tropical. So the soursops, the cherimoyas, the sugar apples, the custard apples, even the rollinia, which is in the same family, are all tropicals and subtropicals. But this one here, the American Paw Paw, actually does require chill hours in order to flower and set fruit. So I was reluctant to bring it along to Brisbane with me, but this particular one that survived here, this is a named variety called Pennsylvania Gold. And so I just couldn't let it go. I just had to bring it along, and I planted it here kind of in the back along the fence line just to see what it would do. So we'll keep an eye on that over the years. If it ever does fruit, that'd be great, but I'm not ever expecting it to. And this one flower has kind of really excited me to see that even this much has happened. Over this way we have another marang. It's one like that we saw before. I've planted in a different spot. This one again is slightly sheltered, so this one is a little bit cold sensitive, and it's a borderline for Brisbane in that it might be a little bit too cold here to get through the winters. I planted this after the majority of the winter chill had gone, and unfortunately we lost our chicken buddy wherever she's gone. She passed away recently, and she is planted underneath this marang, and will hopefully provide the nutrients, and we'll keep this one going nice and healthy, and we'll see some marang fruit off of this. I'm very interested to try the differences between the jackfruit and the marang and the Chempedak and the Cheena, which we will see. We'll walk through the forest here. Oh, more spider webs. Got to be careful walking through the spider webs. Don't know if you guys know, but I hate spiders. They will be one thing that can make me scream. Oh, there's her friend hiding under there now, wondering what's going on. So this here is a Cheena, and the Cheena is the cross between the Chempedak and the jackfruit. This is actually going quite well. I had this sitting in a laundry sink all through winter just to wait to be passed out. It developed these little spots on it while it was in that sink. It was not the best air ventilation. It wasn't getting very frequent watering, but since I put it in, it's actually only been a couple of weeks and it's already started to kind of wake up. It's put on a new little bud, a new little leaf, which seems to have trouble, but I actually think this will do really well in this position. So we'll see how the Cheena goes, and if the Chempedak fails and the marang fail, maybe the Cheena will survive. We'll wait and see. Yellow dragon fruit down here hasn't done much. It's actually not very loved, unfortunately, for it. Blue Java banana I've put in since I moved in, and this is already putting on a lot of size. Looking forward to some Blue Java bananas. Soursop down in the corner there that I put in. Fig alley, all the fig plants. Brazilian cherry, which we'll see in a second. More figs. Look at the size of the leaves on this fella. We'll get into figs in another video, but this is a really interesting sort of example of a fig, because they're all in the same position as you can see, but none of them quite have the size of this fig here. And I actually have a theory that the positioning of this pot, which is right beside this shed and fence, is shielding the roots from the majority of the midday heat, where these ones kind of cop it a little bit more, and as such, if they don't get watered every day, they start to get a little bit more stressed. You can see the curling in the leaves, and this, I expected it was going to rain today, and that rain didn't come through, so I haven't given them that water yesterday or today, and as such, a few of my figs have started to show curling leaves, which is a sign that they're beginning to become water stressed. If we look at the soil in this plant, we can see that yes, it is looking quite dry, and so I was expecting that that rain to come through, and I'm going to have to give them more water after this video so that they're quite happy through tomorrow. But this fig in the corner here is just a little bit more protected. It's in that corner between the shed and the fence, and the size of the leaves as a result of this is just amazing. It's just absolutely huge leaves on this plant. This is an interesting variety it's called Asang. And I'm not sure if that's a correct pronouncing of the word, but sang or sangue or sang, I think it's French or Italian, but it basically means blood, and it's meant to be like a blood red fig. So excited to see how that goes as the year goes on. But that's not what this video is about. We'll do figs in another video. This is another cherimoya. This one is actually a little bit unloved. I just couldn't find space for it, but it ended up flowering for me, and it's about one of the only cherimoyas that I've had. And it had quite a number of flowers at one point on it. I'm not sure, maybe I'll get a fruit off this, which would be ironic, seeing as though I've really just kind of left it here. It was on a weird angle in the pot. I'd been ignoring it. It hasn't been watered very frequently, and yet it put on all these flowers. And sometimes flowering in a plant that's unloved is a sign of stress, where the plant kind of thinks to itself, well, I better put off some flowers and fruit before I die, just to kind of get my genes proliferated. So I wouldn't think too much about it. Don't think this is the best way to raise your plants. But we're going to run through here into the front yard. It's a veggie garden that wasn't here before. I put all these in. I don't think we'll talk about veggies in this video, but we've got some nice tomatoes coming on. We've got some nice bunches of tomatoes. I do like my tomatoes for sauces. Artocarpus doing really well. Put a miracle fruit in the other day. Lots of good things happening. But what I really want to show you guys is over here. And this is the very first Brazilian cherry that has ripened, not only in Brisbane but ever for me. So I don't know if it's ripe or not yet. It's starting to look really good. I'd be so disappointed to pick it early and not have it sweet enough, but at the same time I'd be so disappointed to leave it on the tree and have a possum or a rat or some other filthy creature come along and steal my prize from me. There's a few flowers on here, but there's no other fruit, green or red, on this plant, so I am tempted to pick it today and just give it a try. Now this is a named variety. This is the Black Beauty variety, which is why this one's in the garden, but that other Brazilian cherry we passed is still in its pot. So we'll see. I don't know yet. I'm leaning towards picking it tonight, giving it a bit of a shot with the boy. If I decide to do that, I think I'll just tack it along to the end of this video. I'll cut them together. If I decide to leave it on the plant, maybe we'll do it as a second video in on a different day, probably tomorrow, I would imagine. But yeah, looking really good. Really enjoying this kind of Brisbane spring that's come on. Another Artocarpus. Look at the new growth on this. It's looking really great. I am really appreciating the Brizzy weather, the Brizzy winter, which felt like nothing at all. Although I'm starting to feel that's going to be a super hot year with this El Nino that has been recently called by the Bureau of Meteorology. And I just think it might be a little bit of a warm one this year, so I'm going to feel the humidity in its full force. Anyway guys, if I come back and try that Brazilian cherry, we'll do that at the end of this video. I'll tack it on, otherwise it'll be there for another day. And yeah, if that's the case, I'll catch you in the next one, or if we try it tonight, I'll catch you again shortly. Alright, we've decided we're going to try that Brazilian cherry. I don't want to risk it. Felix, where's the Brazilian cherry? Oh, it is. Do you want to pick it for Daddy? Oh, good. Bring it over here. Cheese. You're on camera. What colour is it?
White.
Red. Does it look pretty yummy?
Yeah.
Alright, give it to me. I'm going to cut it because you're going to have a little bit and Daddy's going to have a little bit. And we're going to see what we think of this one. Let me put the phone between my legs.
Don't get me with that knife.
Don't get you with the knife? It's probably a good idea not to get you with the knife. Mummy wouldn't be very happy if I did that, would she? Alright, here we go. Now you can try what you think of this first of all. Daddy's just going to put it on the camera so we can see what colour the inside looks like. You hold that in your hand, don't eat it just yet. Hold on it and have a look at it. Alright, have a taste. What's it taste like?
I don't like it.
You don't like it? What does it taste like?
I don't know.
Have another bite and have a good taste. Is it sweet or is it sour?
Sour.
Very sour or just a little bit sour?
Super sour.
You have a little bit more?
I don't want.
You don't like it? Alright, put it in my hand. Alright, Daddy's going to try his bit. So, obviously like the normal cherry, there's a seed in here. It looks like there's actually a couple of seeds in here. Not sure why Felix didn't like it. It's possible it's not ripe. But let's give it. It's tart.
I'm just going to go inside for a minute. No, I'm just going inside a minute.
It looks like there's a couple of seeds in here. Now the problem Felix had with. See you next time. Thanks, Felix. The problem Felix had with it was this did actually need another day or two. It is very tart. I wouldn't call it sour. It's got a tartness and it's very reminiscent of a mandarin skin. Maybe like a mandarin that's not ripe, where you've got a little bit of pith in there, so it's got that kind of bitterness that comes along with it, but it's also not quite ripe, so it's a little bit sour. It's very citrusy. It's not a bad tasting fruit, but I should have left it the other day. And you know what, I really was debating whether or not I should put that in here. And what tipped me over the edge was that I had a cucumber growing on my vine, and something got to it last night. It was a possum or a rat or something along the line, and it ate through my entire cucumber. So I thought that it was too risky to leave it on there. I think this Brazilian cherry has a lot of potential. It was. And I've got Felix's half here still. It's very aromatic. It's very citrusy. It reminds me a lot of citrus peel. Maybe if you've had dried citrus peel, if you do any Asian cooking, like a dried orange peel. It doesn't smell like a whole lot, but it is quite sour. It's very floral. It smells a bit like a citrus, like an orange blossom as well. I would say that it's very citrusy in tone, and I just think it is. It just needed a day or two. But the sweetness is there, but the combination of the bitterness and the tartness isn't something that kids would particularly enjoy, at least not my kid. I'll finish the whole because it's not bad. I think if you bought at the shops and you were trying to buy something exotic and you bought a punnet of them home and they shaped like that, you'd be a little bit disappointed. But I think that next time we'll leave it on the plant. We'll give it a good shot. We'll do it properly. Maybe I'll bag it. They're very small, but maybe I'll work out a way to bag it. Maybe I'll bag the entire tree, and we'll give it that extra day. And maybe one of the takeaways from this video is that we should actually make sure that they're fully ripe and taken not just to the red stage, but to the red plus a couple of days stage, and that might be what we need to get it to the point that it's going to be absolutely delicious. Anyway guys, I haven't done this in a while, so it feels a bit odd to be shooting videos again. I keep saying that I want to try to do this more frequently. And again, and I know that it's not just Neil, there's been a couple of messages I've seen come through Facebook, and I am not ignoring you, I promise. Number one, I'm really bad on social media. I find it I use it when I have to. I don't use it because I don't enjoy it. It's been like that ever since Facebook and other things first came out. I've never really loved the idea. Obviously my job, it is important that I keep on top of the socials, but I kind of preference that and get it out social very, very quickly and just kind of jump off it. And then I keep telling myself, yeah, I'll get onto these quickly. But then I find myself distracted with other things. So those that have messaged me and I haven't got back to you, I will do that, and I'm sorry for the delay, and it's not you, it's me. So yeah, we'll catch up in the next video, because I've got so many things coming up and so many things that are here. We have some more figs. These are all starting to put on their figlets. These are all going to be featured in upcoming videos as these figs start to grow. And as I start tasting all the different varieties, I've got a couple that I'm really interested in. This is the that Martinegro Ramada again. I'm actually thinking about putting this one in the ground, and I was absolutely committed on putting this particular one in the ground until the last leaves started to really show some quite heavy signs of mosaic virus, and I've only really got one spot in the ground that I can put a fig tree, and I'm going to be grafting a whole bunch of varieties onto it. So I need a root stock that is very vigorous, so that it will be supporting all the cuttings that I'm going to put on top of it. This is one that is quite vigorous and is doing really well. This is the Asiatic JH. So I'm thinking that at the moment maybe this is going to be one, or maybe that Asang we saw before, or Asange, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. Put in the comments below if you know how to pronounce that properly. I've got some Smith here that are both growing really well that I'm very excited to try, and a whole bunch of other ones. I've got we've got this one that I'm very, very interested in. The label is gone, but this is it's the Gris version of this, which is the name of the Col de Dame Gris. This had back here with the Col de Dame Noir. This is the Col de Dame Gris. And as you can see, all of these things blur together in my mind. I've got over here, this one here I'm very interested in. This is the Black Madeira KK, which is one that is so often spoke about. It's not renowned for its kind of lethargy, its slowness in growing. This one has in fact lived up to its name. It's really not doing much. It's taken a long time to do anything at all, in fact. So there's a lot that I want to try this year, and over the next month as they start to ripen, we'll get onto that. And yeah, we'll have a chat some more. Otherwise, we'll try our best to stay. Look at these cherimoyas fruiting in their pots, but the ones in the ground aren't doing anything. Look at this flower over here. This is a cherimoya flower that's fully opened, so ready for pollination. The ones in the pots are the ones that are flowering, huh? Whereas the ones in the ground, this is the cherimoya we pruned the other day. If you watched that other video, I chopped it right back, and because it had stayed a stick for days and days, and weeks and weeks and weeks. Look how well it's going now after a bit of a pruning. These cherimoyas love prunings. But again, getting distracted. We'll see you in the next video. Sorry for the delays. Try to be better. Otherwise, catch you in the next one.